What if every self-help message you've absorbed is truly damaging your life? We've created a whole empire founded on believing we're essentially defective, constantly tinker with ourselves like defective machines. But here's the profound reality. The core belief that you need correction is the sole broken element. Imagine a sea wave suddenly becoming conscious and worrying, because it's not solid like a stone, because it constantly shifts configuration. The wave would try to fix itself, to become more stable. How preposterous would that be? However, this is precisely our daily human behavior. The wave is already whole, but we've taught ourselves that we're broken ventures requiring endless remodeling. We've been handed a backward narrative. You carry troubles needing fixing, parts demanding betterment, and if you push hard enough and uncover the right system, you can finally mend yourself and become your destined self. This story is so woven into our culture that we rarely question it. We assume our condition as infinite works undergoing improvement. However, what if this fundamental premise is utterly flipped? Here's something scandalous. You are never flawed, never partial, never a difficulty needing answers. The single thing requiring mending is the idea that you need mending. Observe the natural environment. When you observe a tree, you don't assess its limbs as insufficient. The tree is glorious precisely as it exists. It evolves and adjusts to its context, yet doesn't convene sessions about self-development. We humans have created this faculty to become our own reviewers and directors. We examine the mirror and see a reconstruction project requiring labor. Trees develop understanding as well. Identify which route to grow toward radiance, how to drive roots deeper into earth. However, trees don't afflict themselves over insufficient size. They answer naturally to what life provides. The distinction is trees have faith in their nature, while we've been taught to doubt ours. We've been indoctrinated to believe our instincts are suspicious. Our response is likely erroneous. So we construct an internal overseer judging everything we undertake. Am I efficient enough? Am I growing at the proper velocity? It's draining, like harboring an obsessive manager in your thoughts, endlessly finding you wanting. Yet this manager isn't your true self. It's incorporated criticisms, inherited measures from family, educators, and culture. You've absorbed a panel, causing you to feel constantly insufficient. However, who notices this board? Who observes these judgments? Something in you watches this drama without being caught up. That aspect is who you genuinely are. You're not the thoughts about yourself. You are the consciousness where all this arises like weather formations moving through the firmament. The sky is never impaired by atmospheric phenomena. Storms come and go, yet the sky stays immense. Likewise, thoughts of lacking emerge and fade, yet your fundamental nature stays pristine. You can shift and flourish without the tale that you're inherently flawed. Watch little ones discovering how to walk. They drop repeatedly. Do they develop tales about being flawed? Absolutely not. They stand and retry because walking seems entertaining. Learning unfolds naturally, lightheartedly, without self-evaluation. There are two approaches to change. One believes you're defective, like a repairman working on a faulty machine. The other acknowledges you're already complete, like a gardener trusting innate flourishing. The repairman fights while the gardener cooperates with life. Most progression strategies are mechanistic. We treat ourselves like machines needing better programming. But what if you're more like a garden containing natural intelligence? When you trust this intelligence, you cease battling yourself. Instead of forcing yourself into molds, you let your configuration appear. When you stop fighting yourself, you free enormous energy for living. Ponder how much energy you consume judging yourself. Imagine if that force were usable for being here now. The individual who grasps their already complete focuses power on expression and finding. Here's something surprising. When you discontinue attempting to mend yourself, Issues you believe required fixing frequently resolve themselves. When you stop stirring up self-criticism, your clarity settles. A lot of what we think is defective results from attempts to fix what was never imperfect. You may suppose you have an anxiety challenge and employ techniques to solve it. However, this endeavor produces more anxiety. There's nothing wrong with feeling anxious sometimes. When you cease making anxiety an issue, it frequently fades organically. We've been trained to think we ought to feel specific ways: happy, confident, peaceful. However, feelings are the weather systems of awareness. Occasionally turbulent, occasionally tranquil. This isn't a problem. This same reality applies to characteristics we regard as defects. Perhaps you're reserved in a society celebrating extroversion. Rather than adjusting these qualities, recognize them as your unique addition. Oak trees don't strive to transform into pines. Rivers don't apologize for not being mountains. When you embrace your essence fully, something magical happens. You end expending energy trying to be someone you're not. This doesn't imply you never evolve, but growth emerges from interest rather than deficiency. You evolve because growth is entertaining. Children don't strive at imagining. They simply dream naturally and effortlessly. We've learned to question natural wisdom. We've transformed our internal existence into a business with evaluations. Yet your authentic essence still exists, waiting for you to recognize you were never flawed from the start. Here's a seeming impossibility. The more you endeavor to improve yourself, the more you validate requiring improvement. But when you recognize you were never broken, development happens naturally, effortlessly. When you trust your nature, growth happens like flowers blooming, wonderfully in their proper season. This isn't passivity, but confidence in the intelligence that drives your heart. So here's an offering. Engage in an experiment. For 24 hours, stop endeavoring to fix yourself. See that day as a gift to be opened. Meet emotions without changing them. Notice thoughts without judging. Treat yourself like a good friend with kindness, patience, and humor. You may find you're splendid precisely as you exist. This is the secret. You are never incomplete. You're already whole, already intact, already adequate. You're not apart from life. You are existence displaying itself as human, and existence is jubilation. We're all waves within the same waters, each individual, each complete, each transient. When you grasp this as living reality, you can at last settle into being yourself. Your real self is more beautiful than your conceived ideal. You don't require becoming more like existence because you are life experiencing itself as you. The wave is the ocean playing at being a wave. If this truth connected with you, I sincerely invite you to subscribe to the channel, follow for more material that questions mainstream thinking about personal evolution and self-improvement, and post a comment below with the word whole to show me you're prepared to embrace your total, intact nature exactly as you are right now.